Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Property Podcast Today show. I've got a returning guest. I've got Ric Dawson from Alto. We're going to be talking about some of the interesting changes that have happened, reflecting on from the first time I've had Ric on the show, and then we're going to get into a bit about Alto's future as well. So, look, Ric, my first question for you is, as I said, it's been a few months since we last caught up, and there's been a lot that's happened at Alto, especially on the leadership front. What changes have gone well? What's your biggest challenges, and what lessons have you learned so far since we first sort of caught up?
Yeah, thanks, Lee. Well, firstly, thanks for having me back.
No problem.
Yeah, it's been a busy few months. That's for sure. I suppose to answer the question, one of the biggest changes has been building out our leadership team that really understands SaaS and how it operates and the dynamics of our customers. Alto has always had the scale. We are the biggest CRM provider in the UK, but to really unlock that scale, you need leaders who live and breathe software. So, we've brought in new heads across marketing, across partnerships, revenue, operations. And I suppose what I'm most proud of is the cohesion in that group, which is a big part of my job to try and facilitate. These guys, they're not just great in their silos. They really do work well as a team, and with clarity on strategy and alignment on priorities, that clearly helps. And then I suppose the other big change is a cultural one. We've introduced and this might sound like a simple thing, but we've introduced a common language across the company, which is rooted in the product and in the jobs of work that we're helping agents complete, and that's super important because it makes strategy tangible. Instead of just these sort of abstract goals, people now talk about the outcomes that we're driving for customers, and then they have clarity about how their roles ladder into that. So that's one thing. And then what's gone well is, and we'll come on to this, is we've definitely got a sense of momentum. You can feel it across the business. People are clearer, they're more confident, they're more energized. And so that's really good stuff. Challenge has been, which is probably my personality, has just been around patience. When you bring in a new team, you want instant results. But embedding a strategy deeply, embedding it, not just having this thing that you pin up on the wall. To embed it properly, deeply, it takes time. And my biggest lesson has been around going slow to go fast. If you take the time to make sure people not only know the strategy but really believe in it, and then you start to hear it coming back to you in stereo sound from the bottom up, that's when you really know you've got something and that you can accelerate. So feeling good.
Good. I like that overview, and I think the focusing on the challenges and stuff, that it is difficult to have, you want that instant results, you want those things to happen, but unfortunately sometimes you just need to give time and patience to see that what you have put together actually works. And it's worrying when you first do it. You think, is this right? I need to know now. But unfortunately you can't. Time is the only thing that tells that. But I want to talk to you about going from founder to CEO, and what surprised you most about stepping into that CEO role, and what's been the hardest adjustment? I like asking you these questions about challenges and hardness.
Yeah. Look, I'm total honesty. The biggest surprise, I suppose, is just, and it's not a surprise, it's a sort of known, but it's just how different the CEO, the scale CEO job is from being a founder. And it starts to come back to this going slow to go fast again. As a founder, you live on adrenaline, you pivot constantly, you're involved in every detail, and you just sort of like will the business forward through sheer force of nature. And as a CEO at this scale, you need different muscles. You need structure.
Yes.
You need discipline. You need patience in abundance. And the role is less about doing, and it's more about creating the environment for others to do their best work in. So this is this cohesion point. It's this culture point. But that is the hardest adjustment, I suppose. Learning to let go of the instinct to jump in and solve every problem, and instead you focus on clarity. Where are we going? Why are we going there? How do we measure progress? And then you build the team around you that you can trust to then execute. And that is a big part of this, I suppose. Is a massive amount of the role is about execution discipline. And then you get a sort of halo effect from that. So you can't just set a strategy and then expect belief. You have to prove it over time through what I call, what we talk about a lot in ASG, is this say-do ratio. The percentage of things that you deliver that you said you would. If you said that you are going to deliver on all of these operating initiatives at the start of the year, you want to be able to, at the end of the year, see that you've done. The rubber's going to hit the road, and some of the things are going to change, and that's fine. But you want to have a say-do ratio in the 90s, because customers and employees and investors, they watch that stuff really closely. Do you deliver? And if they believe you, then consistency builds trust, and trust compounds. And so that's really, really important. We talk about that a lot. And then I suppose the other piece that it's all linked together is around pace. And like we said, as a founder, you want everything yesterday. But as a CEO of this scale, it is this power of going slow to go fast. And if you take the time to land that strategy deeply, then you can empower the organization to move more quickly, but within clear guardrails. And look, it is tough to hold back at first, but if you can curb that, it pays off in sort of sustainable momentum going forward.
Rick, I think that's a good lesson advice for any CEO that's thinking about even their role and are they doing it right. I think that's some great solid advice for them, because they'll feel the same. They'll think, am I doing this the right way? Am I trusting the team enough? So to hear it of how you're doing it there, I think that's solid advice for anyone. And we want to talk to you about the recent sort of news around Jupix, and which is now remaining in the Alto Software Group family, ASG, after some previous conversations around its future. Can you tell us more around that and what we might expect from Jupix in the future?
Yeah, sure. I'm glad you brought this up, actually. Look, Jupix is a really, really important part of our portfolio. It's got a really loyal customer base, which we're massively appreciative of, and it solves very specific needs in the market. Things that some of our other products don't. Like it's particularly strong in Scotland, for example. Where regulatory workflows are different, and in some cases slightly more complex. We've had lots of conversations about Jupix's future, as everyone knows, but ultimately we decided that Jupix needs to remain in the ASG family because it continues to serve those customers really well. And what's next for it? It's all about reinvesting to strengthen what it already does best. So stability, compliance, simplicity. We're not trying to reinvent it. Instead, we're making sure that it continues to be rock solid for the agents who rely on it. And the way that we want to then innovate on Jupix is creating a focus around integration with partners. So, we know that Jupix agents, like all the others, they don't want 10 different disconnected systems. They want the CRM to connect seamlessly with other prop tech tools or other tools that are in their system stack. So we're opening up many more integrations with sort of best-in-class partners, giving Jupix customers access to a wider ecosystem of partners, similar to what we've done in Alto, without losing the workflows that they value. So I suppose the short answer is we're keeping Jupix true to itself. We're making sure that it is stable and maintained and looked after, and we're innovating around the partnership space, just making sure that it plugs more neatly into the broader tech landscape.
I like that. And just going back to the new hires, so we've seen, you know, a wave of them recently. What drove that recruitment push, and do you feel you've hired the right leadership team in place now to sort of move Alto forward?
Yeah, good question. So yeah, we've taken on a bunch of new people. Ultimately, it came down to one thing. We've deployed a new strategy this year, which is all about being relentlessly focused on our customers and delivering value to them in a really demonstrable and measurable way. And so the recruitment push has come down to building the right foundations for scaling that strategy. So look, coming out of the houseful group environment where we had a single leadership team across all the business units, when we looked at ASG, we've clearly got strong products and a big customer base, but then we needed leaders who had scaled SaaS businesses before. So people who understand how to balance growth with efficiency, all the things that we've spoken about, customer first, and how to execute at pace. And so, like I say, we've hired leaders across marketing, partnerships, ops, and what's powerful in that, or what we think is powerful, is not just that talent individually, but this cohesion as a group. You know, we're really proud of that in a short time. And ultimately, these people bring a whole bunch of different perspectives that are really valuable, right? And like I say, if you can get everyone aligned on the same strategy and they work as a team, you get a real lift. So that's been the biggest shift. But the leadership team now are scale, SaaS, experts, and they're all pulling in the same direction. So do we have the right team? I'd say we're in the strongest position that we've ever been, certainly in the time that I've been involved with the group. But that doesn't mean that the work is done by any means. You know, it's about
feet up time. Feet up
yeah,
time.
not quite. It's yeah, you know, it's about raising the bar constantly and keep pushing yourself, which, you know, we're enjoying doing as well. So that's an important thing. Make sure that we're enjoying it as we go. It's not all about numbers. But what I do feel confident is that we've now got the right blend of skills, experience, and energy to take Alto into the next stage. So yeah, I think we've done a pretty good job.
Good. And just talking about, you know, that success, you published about, I think we even published it, about the 22% jump in recurring revenue. What's been the biggest driver behind that growth?
Yeah, I think focus, actually. I mean, there's a bunch of things, right? You're constantly spinning hundreds of initiatives. Some of them work, some of them don't. But by creating focus with our new strategy, and then coming away from our group setup, we've just been able to give Alto and the wider software division the singular attention that it deserves. You know, and that's allowed us to do all the things that I've mentioned: put customers back at the center, fix fundamentals in product and service, and create a culture of execution discipline. Because the real engine is always going to be about retention. You know, when customers see tangible improvements, when they see faster workflows, better service, more stability, they stay longer with you and they grow with you. And so that's always going to be a big lift. On the sort of net new stuff, we've invested pretty heavily in our AI labs team and our data engineering function, who are building what we think is the next generation of features around automation and insight. That's already making a big difference in how agents experience Alto day to day, particularly around AI driven reporting, and we haven't even touched the sides yet. But like I say, what's really driven the growth is just making Alto more valuable day to day. Fix the fundamentals, improve stability, building features that agents actually need, having a really open and honest dialogue with your customers. Because if you do those things, you'll make it easier for customers to run their businesses. And then when customers feel that, like I say, they stay longer, they grow with you, and ultimately that's what drives sustainable growth. So it's the result of hundreds of discipline changes, but all pulling in the same direction.
Good. And with such a strong H1, how are you planning to keep that momentum going for the rest of the year?
Yeah, good question. I get that from the investors a lot as well, believe it or not.
you should be well rehearsed in this question then.
Yeah. Look, momentum's built on consistency, right? You can't sprint for 6 months and then collapse. The way that you sustain it is by embedding the strategy so deeply that people can make fast, confident decisions without second guessing within the right guardrails. And then I suppose practically H2 is about doubling down on our core priorities. Keep going on jobs of work improvements, making Alto easier to use, making sure that we are measuring the efficiency gains for agents, extending our partnerships, releasing new AI functionality to accelerate those things that I've just mentioned, and then investing more in data. We sit on one of the richest transaction data sets in UK housing market, and we're starting to use that to power smarter insights for agents. We want to be, some of our customers have been with us for decades, and so we want to be able to allow them to identify trends in those data sets, look at other external inputs to power smarter insights for them so that they can price more effectively, manage risk better, decide where they want to put their resource, and ultimately win more instructions. So that's a big thing for us. And then culturally, it's like I say, it's about keeping that say-do ratio high. And then when people see the business delivering consistently on what it said it would, belief will build, belief creates momentum, and then we'll keep going. And then you can carry strong results into the second half of the year and into next.
I like it. Now, my last question, which is possibly the thing I like the most outside of my family, is the future. So looking ahead, what's on the roadmap that you think will really excite estate agents?
Yeah, good question. I get excited about this as well. There's a few things that I'm genuinely excited about, and I've sort of touched on a couple of them already, but AI and automation, these are, we've been sort of tentative in how much noise we want to inject into the market around our plans for this, because clearly, there's a lot of noise around what you could do. And from our perspective, there's a difference between sort of surface level chat GPT integrations that you can do in an afternoon, and you can do, write property descriptions better, you can enhance listings, images, that's sort of like commoditized stuff. Our AI strategy is about deep integrations into agentic agents to power highly administrative tasks that free you up as an estate agent. But also it's about creating sort of prompt-based workflows that allow you to guide the actions of the CRM, not just through clicking on an interface and dragging and dropping things, but through a conversational UI. So in the same way that you would interact with a ChatGPT or a Gemini or whatever LLM you use, you could do that in the CRM. And so that takes a whole bunch of transformative back-end work into your database, into the way that your APIs are set up, and a whole bunch of stuff. But that is proper value. So we've been tentative about coming out and screaming about some of the front-end novelty stuff, because we are getting ready to talk about deep integrations into AI and automation, so that we can really make an impact here. And then, so that's one, and clearly that's a massive thing, but I'm really excited about that roadmap. The second, and I suppose it's a little bit back to basics, is world-class reporting. And again, this has an AI lens to it as well. But one of the biggest requests that we hear is for better visibility of performance. Across branches, across teams, across pipelines. So we're rolling out a brand new reporting suite that is completely configurable, that has natural language search over the top of it. So you can pose it questions like, how many lettings instructions have I won in Berkshire in the last 6 years that are between X and Y value? And it'll generate a report for you. Now that's a game changer in terms of what you get in the market in terms of CRM. But we're very close to talking about some of that stuff. And then we've got, and again, I suppose it is back to core a bit, we've got a brand new lettings platform within Alto that we're in beta with at the moment. So, lettings is complex. You've got the renters' rights bill. You've got tax changes coming down the pipe. You've got multiple stakeholders, lots of regulation, endless touch points in lettings. We've rebuilt onboarding, the consumer interface, lettings progression, and then some of property management and accounts. So very soon, Alto will look completely different around its lettings experience. So yeah, we're really excited about that.
Wicked, Ric. Ric, thank you so much for coming on the show again. Appreciate you sharing, the insights, talking about overviews of challenges, what's worked, and the future. I really appreciate it. So thank you.
No problem at all, Lee. Thanks for having me, and we'll speak again soon.
Definitely.